unity and social harmony are what many people here want. Some have been waiting days to get into Quito's Bicentenario Park for Tuesday's papal mass. The visit of Pope Francis comes after a month of violent protests by Ecuador's conservative opposition against government attempts to redistribute wealth.
I think he is the messenger of peace. He is what the Catholic Church was needing. The Church needs renewal.
When he arrived at Quito's airport on Sunday, Pope Francis said that Ecuador could always count on the Church for support. And he said the best way to resolve differences is through dialogue.
You have shown that you agree with my way of thinking. You have quoted me too often. Thank you. In return, I wish you the best with your mission and that you achieve what you want for the good of your people.
3 weeks ago, the Ecuadorian government suspended its proposals for taxes on wealth and urged all citizens to take part in a national debate on equality and wealth redistribution.
Now that we are going through a very difficult situation, maybe Pope Francis can give guidance. That is what this dialogue is for. If I have more, I should share some of it. And if another person has nothing, I should share what I have with them. That's how it should be.
Despite the tension of recent weeks, the Pope's visit is bringing the people of Ecuador together through their faith. More than 80% of the people here are Catholic. Music and prayers could be heard for many blocks around the Bicentenario Park as believers secured their spots for a mass that more than 1 million people are expected to attend. Emotions are running high here in front of the Bicentenario Park as people began arriving yesterday morning from across Ecuador as well as from Colombia and Peru. They have come with their tents as well as with their open hearts and minds, awaiting the papal mass, which will be led by Pope Francis tomorrow. They're waiting for messages filled with values of social justice as well as hope for humanity. Liz Sherfias, teleSUR, Ecuador.
The new electronic voting system used in Buenos Aires on Sunday worked smoothly without hitches.
Luckily, everything has gone well. My colleagues tell me that previous elections were much more complicated, so that's great.
It's quick and problem-free. It's an easy two-step process, very straightforward.
In the weeks leading up to the election, practice machines had been installed across the city. They made a reappearance on polling day, just in case anyone, especially older voters, needed a refresher course before casting their ballot.
They come over and ask us to explain how to use it. They already know a bit about it because their grandkids have shown them how it works, or they've used the online simulator. So all this has helped. After they voted, they thank us. So it looks like they're getting it.
The city government says the electronic voting system worked perfectly. The opposition voiced some isolated complaints, but the city's residents seemed rather pleased with the initiative.
It's working very well. Occasionally the machine jams, and some people are not very savvy with it. But we're gradually getting used to it, and I think it is a very good innovation.
Even though the debut of the electronic ballot system in Buenos Aires City was largely incident-free, Argentina's National Electoral Commission has announced that it will not adopt the system at a federal level, at least not for the upcoming presidential elections. Leo Boledegudi, teleSUR, Buenos Aires.
There was renewed hope for supporters of the Colombian peace process after the FARC announced once again a one-month unilateral ceasefire, right when the escalation of the conflict was putting the peace process under increased pressure.
We see the FARC's announcement as extremely important, not just because it's the sixth truce that the FARC have unilaterally implemented, but also because this can be the beginning of the end of the armed conflict. Now we expect the government to reciprocate.
The FARC decision comes after a 5-month-long unilateral truce that was never reciprocated by the government. Now even senators of the government coalition consider that this time President Juan Manuel Santos must give something back.
Any kind of gesture that turns this one-month-long unilateral ceasefire into an indefinite ceasefire so that we can push forward the negotiations and advance in the issue of victims.
As the FARC called on the Broad Fund for Peace to act as verifiers of this new truce that will start on the 20th of July, members of that network recalled the benefits of the last ceasefire that the FARC implemented during 5 months.
The same government itself, as well as the military forces, must have realized how many lives were spared from both civilians and the military, how the economy got strengthened in the regions, and how security and tranquility was back in the last unilateral truce.
During the last FARC truce, the intensity of the conflict decreased in 90%. Some 600 lives were spared and thousands of forced displacements were prevented. And that is what social organizations are strongly demanding from the government to value this time.
El mismo gobierno nacional, las mismas fuerzas militares, de cuántas vidas se salvaron, cuántas vidas de civiles y de militares, cómo se favoreció la economía en esas regiones y cómo se dio parte de tranquilidad y de seguridad.
As social organizations have welcomed the FARC announcement, they have no doubt that the ball is now in the government's court and that what is at stake is President Santos' commitment to the peace process. Natalia Margarita, TeleSUR, Bogotá, Colombia.
Tens of thousands attended Pope Francis' Mass on Thursday in a public square in the Bolivian city of Santa Cruz. In his sermon, he spoke against consumerism, individualism, and the turning aside of those in need. He cited a passage of the Bible that described how Jesus took pieces of bread and fish, blessed them, and then shared them with the poor.
Certainly, it is not magic or idolatry. Jesus, through his three actions, is able to transform a logic of discarding into a logic of communion and community.
In his address, the Pope once again criticized selfish aspects of capitalist societies and called for the caring of those in need. Most of those in the audience were delighted with the event, the charisma of the Pope, and his powerful message.
I think it was excellent. The Pope talked about social inclusion, and that is something very important with regards to economic growth.
The tenderness he has in the manner he addresses all the people is different, especially his humility. He always wants to be with the people, close.
He's more communicative. He has more contact with the people, with all the people, and the messages reach more people. They are more profound.
Unfortunately, not everyone that came to the Mass in Santa Cruz was able to see the Pope, and few were able to see him well. Many claim they will continue to attempt to see him in the upcoming events through Friday. He continues his Latin American tour on Saturday, traveling to Paraguay. Rael Mora, TeleSUR, Bolivia.
Growth figures for visitor arrivals continue to soar in 2015, much to the delight of Caribbean islands. Earlier this year, the region recorded its 17th straight quarter of growth, with nearly 8 million visitors coming to the region during the first 4 months of the year, and those figures continue to rise. January to June 2015 has seen a 6% increase in tourist arrivals. St. Lucia's figure is 6.4%.
What are we attributing all of that tremendous growth to? Well orchestrated, well thought of, well planned, and well executed marketing.
Is the positive news benefiting those who earn their living from the tourism industry? Beach vendor Julia Pierce says business is certainly better today than in the years immediately following the global economic crisis.
Yeah, things are a little better now compared to the other years coming to come. We always want, you know, but we're still satisfied. Yes, but the tourists come, some buy, some to buy. They just look around and they say they'll come back, you know. It's a little better than before.
The president of the Vendors Association, however, says more can be done to assist those who depend on the tourist dollar for survival. He says increased visitor numbers do not necessarily mean more money in the pockets of vendors.
It does not necessarily read down to people actually making more money because of that. There may be areas, maybe the tourism, the hotel, and I cannot speak for them, but I would say probably. But in terms of the cruise sector, where we are really trying to eke out what we really want to eke out of them, and we are looking forward because most of our people are depending upon them probably almost 90% of the times in terms of our revenue, our income base, and it has not really been that impressive.
The Caribbean continues its rapid growth rate from 2014, when arrivals grew by 5.3% to 26.3 million visitors. The Caribbean Tourism Association says the outlook for the remainder of 2015 is positive, with growth expected to be moderate. The vendors are hoping that this will translate into a better standard of living for them. Alison Kentish, TeleSUR, St. Lucia.